بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Today we discuss the division of the Shari ruling. تقسيم الحكم الشرعي. تقسيم, division. And before we go into the division, we define the meaning of the Shari ruling, al-hukm al-shar'i. What does it mean? What do we mean by al-hukm al-shar'i? Al-hukm al-shar'i. What do we mean by it? What is it? We've spoken about this in the past. But now we go into more depth and more details and more sophistication and elaboration and more complex discussion. Hukm al-Shar'i, it has been defined in different ways. But our author is very critical of other definitions because they are not inclusive and comprehensive. And the definition has to be really comprehensive. So he puts it in one sentence. He says, Al-Hukm al-Shar'i, it is an instance of legislation. A body of legislations, okay, issued from God or issuing from God. Tashri' at-tashri'. Instance of legislation. Tashri'. Tashri' as-sadir min Allah ta'ala. That definitely the source of tashri' lahu al-hukm wa lahu al-amr. Belongs to him the government and the control and the leadership and the commands belongs to him. So he is that source. And this is the subject of the debate here in the West, that Muslims believe everything they say is from God, and they believe that their law, Islamic law, comes from God, divine law, so it has to be executed. But this is the case. This is the case. We should not argue that whether this is from God or not. We should argue that whether this is fair to the humanity or not. We believe that everything that comes from God is fair to the humanity, provided that we understand it and we know how to extract it. We know when and where to extract that and when and where to implement that. So some of these legislations are from God, but they are not for this place or that place. They could be confined in one place or under certain circumstances, not all circumstances. This is the debate. This is how the debate should be. So at-tashri' al-sadir min Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, issuing from Lord. Now, what is the purpose of this tashri'? لِتَنظِيمِ حَيَاةِ الْإِنسَانِ, to organize and regulate. To organize and regulate the life of the human beings. Our life. To organize it. So we do not go into chaos and lawlessness or injustice. And this legislation has two branches. One of them are called, branch number one, are called al-ahkam al-taklifiyya. Taklif is responsibility. Mukallaf is the one who is responsible. And taklifi has many, meanings. At-taklifiyya. At-taklifiyya, it means the one that we are responsible towards them. Responsible towards them. We are responsible towards them. And they have taklifi. They differ from the next one in two things, A and B. A, they are direct. Comes direct from God to the Prophet to us. So they are direct. Mubashara. B, what is the second feature of them? The second feature of them, they are, do you remember? They are related to what? Taklif. To our life, definitely life, but has two branches. Number one, أحكام التكليفية. They are direct, A, to our, related to our actions and deeds and activities. Such as what? Can you give me an example? Yeah.
Contracts.
Either ibadat or muamalat. Ibadat, pray, salli. When that says pray. Okay, actions, the direct it comes, the command comes, the hukum, pray, fast, pay alms. Okay, zakat. Okay, these are direct. Or don't what? Don't murder. Don't drink alcohol. Don't steal. Okay? Either do or don't. أقيموا الصلاة. آتوا الزكاة. Okay? أطيعوا الله. Don't drink alcohol. لا تشربوا الخمر. Don't steal. Don't murder. These are direct. Number one, direct. This is why we call them taklifiyya. They have two features. One, direct. Second, they are related to actions. Do or don't. Okay? Versus وضعية. وضعية is what? What is the first feature of it? A. Huh?
Indirect.
Exactly. Indirect. B. Related to our what? Persons. Like what? Like, one example of it, A, marriage and divorce. This is one example. Such as what? God is not saying you must get married. Of course, He wants you to get married. If you want to complete your faith and be a functioning person in the society, you must establish a family so you can exercise your fatherhood, your motherhood, your mercy, your compassion, your everything. You grow within the family. But why do we call them indirect, my friends? Why they are indirect? Indirect and marriage. What's the connection between them?
Because there's no law, or there's no command.
Exactly. There is no command, but however, the command is not direct, like pray, fast, don't drink, don't kill. It's indirect. Within the institution of marriage, there is another bundle of rulings. Okay? How is that? Let me elaborate more. In marriage it's not, mandatory. So if you don't get married, they send you to hellfire. It's not. It's recommended. Highly, highly, highly recommended. But someone says, I'm not for marriage. He's not going to go to hellfire. Now, if that person chooses to get married, then he will receive an indirect injunctions. Such as what? Give me an example of it.
Mahr.
Mahr, one of them. He has to pay mahr. What is the others? More important than mahr. Within the institution of marriage. Is he going to have responsibilities or not?
Of course. Yeah.
Give me one example. Responsibility of the husband.
Support the family.
Huh?
Support the family.
Support the family. Infaq. Provision. So when he marries someone, then he's responsible for her provision. So here it's indirect. Why? Because he can escape that by not getting married. But once he gets married, then he receives an indirect in rulings or injunction. We call them wad'i, wad'iyya. Wad'iyya because it is related to the persons. Because it happens, wad'iyya, because it's indirect. It happens because you did something. So as a result of doing something, as a result of getting married, this is the meaning of wad'i. As a result, as wad'i. See? As a result of getting married. Then you have to pay. You have to spend. You have to take care of your family. You are responsible. Now it becomes mandatory, wajib on you. Okay? Another example give me from this, in this life, which is ahkam wad'iyya. It comes because things that we do, as a result of we do this, then there is an injunction. So it's not a primary. This one is a primary. This one is secondary. As a result of doing something, then you have that ruling. So give me another example, beside marriage.
Contracts, like you make the contract.
Exactly, like ownership. Ownership, renting. Let's say rent. You rent an apartment. Okay? Then you have to pay rent. You have to return it to the owner. Or ownership. Then once you own, you have to pay the price. And then within this ownership, there are many rulings. For instance, when you own this piece of land, then you control it. No one can come in without your permission. No one can do tasarruf, can deal with it, whether selling it or buying it or doing anything or building it or destroying it, demolishing it without your permission. These are secondary ahkam wad'iyya, as a result of ownership, as a result of marriage. Okay? As a result of being owner, then there are certain rulings that belongs to you. Now, if you don't own, someone comes into this life and leaves this life without owning anything. then these things do not, do not apply to him. So that's the difference between al-ahkam al-taklifiyya and al-ahkam al-wad'iyya. Two differences. One of them, these ones are direct. These ones, the second one, indirect. Second, these ones are related to our actions, af'al, while these ones related to our that, persons, that, we call it that. That. This is af'al. Okay? This is related to af'al, this is related to that, to ourselves, to our persons. And I gave two examples. One of them is marriage, one of them is ownership. So this is the difference between them.
So said, basically every Shar'i ruling will fall into one of these two.
Every Shar'i ruling. But this one is in need to this one. That one is not in need to this one. How is that? Can you tell me? This one, the second category, number two, I should say number two. This one, wad'i, always is in need to the taklifi, but that one is not in need to this one.
Well, it's a direct order from God, right? Anyway, in any case.
Well, is it because that one is related to action, so there's some action that has to be output from the...
Absolutely, because this one is related to actions. This one, when you get married, this is an action, fi'l. As a result of getting married, then you have to spend, you have to sustain your family. So this is an action, fi'l. This is an activity, okay? So every hukum wad'i is followed by what? Hukum taklifi. Taklifi. Okay? Now we said the duty of the husband. What is the duty of the wife in marriage? If she's a female, she's a wife.
Take care of the children.
No, that's not mandatory.
Really?
Yeah. Just two.
Really?
Yeah, really? No, serious. No, if she asks, she can ask for money. She can ask for money. It's not mandatory on her. It's not mandatory. It's not mandatory on her to take care of children. It's not mandatory on her to cook. It's not mandatory on her to clean. It's not mandatory on her. Just two things are mandatory. Part of being a wife, two things. She cannot deny her husband to sleep with her if she's not sick, if she's okay. Meaning she's not through the menstrual cycle, or she's not, psychologically or something wrong with her. She cannot deny him. This is haqqul firash. It's called haqqul, wow, where I write it. Okay, haqqul firash, two things. One of them, the responsibility of the wife, the husband over his wife is right of bed. And bed means, sexual intercourse. And second is what? Obedience in what sense? General obedience? He tells her, let's say, I want you to wear this dress, not that one. Or I want you to drink this cup, not that one. Or eat fish today, not shrimp, let's say. What type of obedience?
Well, I think about the one where the
Getting out of the
controversy.
Exactly. Not leaving
But there was the thing saying
the house without his permission.
But there's the one about that controversial one though.
Such as?
The one that people read it as hitting. Like you want her.
No.
It's not.
Most of the scholars of Ahlul Bayt, they say just two. Haqqul Firash, they call it Haqqul Firash. Haqqul Firash. that she does not deny him sexual intercourse if she's okay. If she's okay, she cannot say no. But if she's not okay, she's sick, psychologically sick, something happened, a tragedy, she doesn't feel good, or physically sick. And second, the right of obedience to leaving the house, not just anything else. Not anything else. That's,
So that ayah, the controversial ayah, what is that related to then?
that's a different subject. I've elaborated on that in my book, Women in Islam. I have a copy in the office I can give you.
Okay.
I can give
So
you
it's
that.
not related to
No,
this?
it's not. It's not related to this. Yeah. Okay? So this is, here it becomes, as a result of her being married, then it becomes taklif. See? Then it becomes taklif. Assalamu alaikum, doctor. As a result of her getting married, then it's haram for her to deny him. See? I said every hukum wad'i is followed by what? Taklifi. Exactly. We are speaking about two types of rulings, Shari'i rulings we have. Al-ahkam al-taklifiyya, if you don't get dizzy by looking at the board, and al-ahkam al-wad'iyya. In nutshell, very quick. Taklifiyya is aqimu as-salat, atu az-zakat. Okay? Pray, fast, go to Hajj, don't murder, don't steal, don't lie, don't cheat, don't, whatever. Don't abuse. These do's and don'ts. These are called at-taklifi. Al-wad'i is what? Al-wad'i, Dr. Ali, when you enter into a contract with someone else, now as long as you don't enter into that contract, this ruling does not apply to you. But once you enter the contract, then these rulings apply to you. Such as what? Such as marriage and divorce. Marriage, once you get married, today you are not married. Tomorrow, December 21st, you get married, good luck. You have extra responsibilities and tasks to do. Okay? First one is to pay for your wife. For her food, for her drink, for her shelter, for her clothing, for her medical care, for her, sometimes they say even for her education. If she stated to you and you agreed that she continues her education after marriage, then you must pay for her education. So this becomes taklif on you, wajib on you, mandatory. Or the second example is the ownership. You don't own, then, it doesn't have any obligations or responsibilities or privileges. Once you own something, again, there are certain things that you must do or you must not do. Okay? Or if you rent is also contract. You have to pay the rent. Okay? Paying the rent. If you own a place, then no stranger can trespass. No one can trespass, actually, not just stranger. Even if your father, your mother, if you don't want them, you can put a sign, no parents today, no mother-in-law, into this property. So it happens in this country. Yeah. So these are indirect wajibat, Dr. Ali. First ones are direct wajibat, salli, som. These are direct. The second set that comes from contracts, they are indirect. So the first set are related to our actions, ahkam al-taklifiyya. While the second sets are related to what? The wad'i. Related to what?
The circumstance.
Exactly. To our status, to our persons. That. First one is related to af'al. Second one related to our status, our persons, what we do. As a result of what we do. See, as a result of getting married, you have to pay. Are you with me, Dr. Ali? Okay, so these are two types. Let's come to the first one. Go some details about the first one. And we said, Dr. Ali, that what are the rights of the husband over his wife?
The rights of the husband, that says on camera.
Huh? On camera, yeah? We said them, but just to update. Two rights. Number one, we call it haqqul firash.
Right, that's.
She cannot decline. Yeah, she cannot decline him unless she's sick. The second is haqqul ta'a, that she obeys him not to leave the house without his permission. Not about anything else, not about food or a drink or a dress or, no. However, sometimes I was asked this question recently. A couple came to me and he said, look at how my wife is dressed. I tell her, when you go out, don't dress like that. I am her husband. I want to protect her. So they had a disagreement. Don't wear this heavy makeup. Be conservative. Also, he has a right in that, because this is part of, not inside the house. Inside the house, she can wear for him, nobody is there. He cannot control her there or dictate on her what to wear inside the house. But outside the house, because this is part of his responsibility to protect his wife. So he has the right to tell her not to wear this dress. If the dress is provocative, not conservative, brings negative attention, so the husband has the right to tell his wife.
Or he can prevent by not giving permission to leave because of that.
Yeah, that is very difficult.
Yeah.
These things never happens. It happens back home 50 years ago. Now he has to get permission from her. Okay. Now, mabadi', the principles of al-hukm al-taklifi. Mabadi' al-hukm al-taklifi. Principles of the taklifi. What did we say? The ruling, okay? So taklifi, what was taklifi here? How did we translate the taklifi?
Direct?
No, not direct. Huh?
Do's and don'ts, the rules.
No. Yeah, but taklifi, which is the someone who's accountable, responsible. Accountable or responsible. Principles of the responsible rulings, let's call them. Responsible. Responsible rulings, okay? When we dissect the hukm al-taklifi, we find that it is divided into two parts. Part 1 and part 2. Part 1, we call it al-thubut. What does thubut mean? Yeah. What does it mean in English? How do we translate that? Thubut. We have, huh? No. Thubut.
Rooted or
Sabbath.
But I put it this way to make it easier. Thubut, it means decision. Decision. What does that mean? It means that the Mawla, who's the Mawla, my friends? Allah. We refer him in fiqh as Mawla. Or another reference, rather than, we don't say Allah in the, Ash-Shari', ahsant. Either we say Al-Mawla, always. When you hear Al-Mawla, it means God. Or Ash-Shari', lawgiver. This is master. This is master. This is lawgiver. Okay? Now, when the lawgiver or the master decides decides to issue a law, ask people to do something, do you think he would consider a benefit to the people or benefit to him or to both?
People.
What do you think?
If he, sorry, so it's,
A lawgiver, God, decides to tell us to do something or not to do something. Do you think he would consider that there is benefit in this thing that they are doing? Benefit to us or to him or to both?
To us.
So to us, what do you think?
to us, I mean, yeah,
Because
because
he
he doesn't
doesn't
need
need-
anything.
Exactly. He's free of all needs. He's not waiting for favor. So it has to be a benefit to us. Okay? So number one, this thubut has some scholars they say has two steps, others they say it has 3 steps. So step number one, this is the issue, this is the process of legislation. He wants to legislate something. The first step he goes to, it has to have what? They call it advantage or benefit. Okay? Advantage. In Arabic they call it milak. Milak. Okay? Or sometimes they call it maslaha. Maslahat. Maslaha. There is a benefit in that. Okay? Maslaha mean. So this is the first step. So he sees that when I am telling them to do something, there is benefit in that. He's not wasting our time. Why he waste our time 5 times prayers and fasting and, and maslaha and interest and benefit and advantage for us. So they call it milak. This is the first, or advantage. What is the second thing that he, after looking at this object and seeing there is advantage in it for us, we come to the second step. What is the second step? What do you think?
Meaning? Does it have to have meaning or a way to convey it?
Meaning this one. A way to convey. So you said different things. Meaning is this. It has meaning. It has value. It has advantage. It's good. The second one?
Way to convey it?
What do we call it?
Risala or
We call it is will, W-E-L-L or will. So the second is irada. Irada.
That's his will.
Yes, his will, of course, his will. His will. Okay? Irada. So he wants this. After looking at this object, examining it and finding that it has advantage and maslaha for us, then the second step is he wants it to happen, irada. He wants that. So he must have a will to ask us. It's just like you and me, when we go shopping, I see this product, well, it's good, yeah, price is good, I benefit from it, okay? Then I have to have a will to buy it, the second thing. Some scholars, they add the third step, and they call it i'tibar. I'tibar, it means consideration, or either consideration or some people say presentation, or then he will present it to us. Okay? So 3 steps. Some scholars, they say no, 2. Only this. Others, they say no. 3 steps. 1, he sees advantage in it. 2nd, he must show a will. And 3rd, he will present it to us. So this is the stage of what, my friends? Thubut. Thubut. Decision making. Decision making. Now we come to the second. We come to the second part. Which is the second part? What is the second part? The second part, many scholars, they say the second part is this one. Is al-ithbat. See? That one is thubut. This one is ithbat. Ithbat, when he sends this order, he sends it down. Which is this. Others, they say, why did some scholars, they said, no, these are 2. Because they're going to put that one they see here, presenting it. Presenting it. Ibraz. They call it ibraz. Ibraz. Ibraz, when it surfaces, it comes out. Exhibits itself. Ibraz, exhibition. Exhibition. When the hukm exhibits itself. Sometimes this exhibition has 2 forms. Direct and indirect. How is that? When he presents it to us or exhibits that to us. Sometimes
Allegory. Allegory.
No. The way he presents it. Sometimes directly.
Yeah, the Quran. Or
I am thirsty. I say to Dr. Hamid, give me some water. This is direct. And sometimes I say, I'm thirsty. So I signal, it's indirect. So someone brings me water. I don't say bring me water. I just say I'm thirsty. In the Quran, we have these 2 types. Aqimus salat. This is direct. Atuz zakat. Okay? Kutiba alaykum as-siyam. Fasting has been prescribed. Okay? وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ. Your Lord has decreed that you worship none but Him. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Okay? And also do good to your parents. These are direct. Direct. But sometimes the ibraz, the exhibition, the presentation is indirect. He does not say do or don't. He uses another phrase which is indirect. Such as?
The one we did last night about the sa'i, right?
Yeah, that is one of them. Exactly. No, that one, see, that one is فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِ أَن يَطَّوْ. Maybe we can. Yes, yeah, we can. Another example, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ. It's the right of God upon people to go to Hajj. See, he didn't say go to Hajj. He says this is the right of God upon you. So you have to appreciate that. Okay, this is indirect. وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ السَّبِيلَ. It's the right of God upon people. So he's not saying حُجُّ. See? أَقِيمُ الْحَجِّ. Are you with me, Dr. Hamid? In that one he said أَقِيمُ الصَّلَاةِ آتُوا الزَّكَاةِ. In this one he did not say أَقِيمُ الْحَجِّ. He said وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ. So you get it. He says it's my right upon you to come to my house. So this is indirect. We have direct and indirect.
And is there a reason why he used
These are ways of, for instance, in the Quran. In the Quran has, see, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا وَلَا, and do not kill or murder. This is direct. But when it comes to fornication, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا. He didn't say وَلَا تَزْنُوا. He could have said وَلَا تَزْنُوا, don't fornicate. He said, do not approach. Do not approach. They say, why? He could have said, don't fornicate. Make it short. They say, no, there is a wisdom in it. Do not fornicate, meaning don't do the same sexual act, illegal sexual act. While do not approach, do not do the introduction to it that leads into it. Avoid it. Because once you fall in the introduction, you can't stop yourself. Don't be with someone, let's say, non-mahram, in one closed room. Don't entice her. Don't provoke her sexual. Because once you do these things, okay, that's it. The freeway is open. Road is open for you. So don't go into that direction. Once you go into that direction, you are already in trouble.
Unless you breastfeed.
Okay. Okay. These two premises here, the advantage and the will, they call them mabadi'ul hukm. See, we are speaking about what? Mabadi', principles of al-hukm al-taklifi, the principles. These two are called mabadi'ul hukm. 1 and 2 are called mabadi'ul hukm al-taklifi. Okay? Now, I think, should we stop here?
So say, is the reason why those two is because of the school of thought? The school of thought believes that those two are one, those two are together versus the consideration
Yeah.
of ihtibar goes to the second.
Yeah, because they say